thanking you for Florida A&M University. Thanking you, dear Heavenly Father, for entrusting Florida A&M to this Board of Trustees. As we go about this meeting, dear Heavenly Father, we ask for your guidance. We ask that we go about the business of this university in a truly honorable and distinguished way. And we ask for your guidance. We thank you, dear Heavenly Father, for bringing the university safely through the tornadoes. And we thank you, dear Heavenly Father, for blessing this university for many, many years. These blessings we ask in the matchless, marvelous name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sure. Thank you, Trustee Perry. Our first order of business is to hear comments from the public. Each person is recognized for the purpose of public comment shall limit his or her comments to agenda matters currently before the board. The speaker will give his or her name and limit their remarks to 3 minutes. All remarks shall be addressed to the board as a body and not to any member thereof, nor to members of the audience. Attorney Barge-Miles, did anyone sign up for public comment?
Yes, Curtis Johnson.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, you are recognized.
Thank you. Dr. Robinson, BOT Chair Harper, BOT Vice Chair Gibbons, BOT Board. The FAMU National Alumni Association since 1901 has and will always support the institution of Florida A&M University and its students. As an alumni body of more than 80,000 graduates, we stand united and willing to face any challenges to our institution. Given the recent issues regarding purported Jerami $237 million gift to FAMU, we humbly request that the FAMU Board of Trustees strongly consider the following. Conduct a transparent and complete investigation regarding the processes surrounding acceptance and approval of the gift from Mr. Jerami that has put FAMU in an unprecedented situation with several unique challenges that must be navigated simultaneously. Number two, after conclusion of the investigation, implement fact-based measures and policies and hold accountable those parties that the investigation uncovers as violators of policies, procedures, or due diligence. And number three, institute changes that achieve the ultimate goal to restore FAMU back to the pinnacle institution status as exemplified by our outstanding faculty, students, and alumni. Board of Trustees, the mantle that you uphold today is a heavy one. Please know that the FAMU National Alumni Association supports our institution and knows that FAMU must continue its mission to educate our students today, tomorrow, and forever. Given our mission, Board of Trustees, you must continue to be the primary stewards of our university to ensure our standards and related processes continue with no further abatement by any individual or select group of individuals, no matter title or position. I, as president, our board of directors, and the entire Rattler Nation stand ready to partner with you to advance the mission of FAMU and continue to build upon our great legacy and traditions. So may God be with you and our institution during this time. Curtis Johnson, Jr., 19th President, FAMU National Alumni Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Attorney Barge-Miles, are there any others?
Yes, Toby Rutledge.
Okay. Mr. Rutledge, you are recognized.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good afternoon to the board and esteemed guests for this meeting. For my comment, I'm hoping that, I guess, after everything is said and done, as far as reviewing, your processes and whatnot, that even though this was such a large gift, that there will be some discussion as far as like what your processes and procedures are for any gift that is not cash or stock, because just based on what's been submitted so far from the foundation meeting and whatnot, I think it'll be helpful just to kind of have a better understanding of how those things are handled. Because if it can happen for a large gift where bylaws can be bypassed, it can happen for any gift theoretically. So I look forward to hearing about what the board is going to be doing in the future, and I hope that you'll be able to resolve any issues that come up from this. And so thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Rutledge. Are there others?
Yes, Vaughn Wilson.
Mr. Wilson, you're recognized.
Thank you. I want to thank you for this opportunity to address this august body. As a journalist, I've watched FAMU Board of Trustees meetings for nearly 2 decades now. There was a time where the meetings were dreadful, with more bickering than leading. Fortunately, that is currently not the case. We have one of our most diverse, as far as experiences go, and intelligent boards in place, and it appears to be working cohesively in the best interests of FAMU. Since commencement, FAMU has been in the media spaces for not a good reason. We all know what that is. I had a front row seat, and I would not be truthful if I didn't admit that it has taken a little shot of my spirit with the latest revelations, including leading to the resignation of Dr. Friday-Stroud from the FAMU Foundation. What I do know is that 1, we must turn the corner on our PR, and 2, to all rattlers that claim they bleed orange and green, that means you'll stick by the university in trying times, just as you do when we hoist the trophy. PR-wise, we don't have but one option. Admit a faulty representation of the gift was made, explain where we currently are and real expectations from the gift, and from there we move on. Then put policy in place to never allow this to happen again. That's where the Board of Trustees comes in. We've raised records amounts for our school over the last few years the old-fashioned way, piece by piece. We must continue to do that, and with the excellence in which it has been done. I'm frankly over the whole thing. FAMUans must hold those responsible accountable, but stand by our school. In the 137-year history of Florida A&M University, there have been stumbles. Major crisis after major crisis have occurred. One thing that it has taught us is that nothing is irreparable. We fall down, but we get up every time. We must continue to be the great team of administration, board, students, and alumni who've been so instrumental in FAMU's success. It's time to dig in and further uphold our beloved university even more. Using athletics as a parity, if a quarterback throws an interception, then the defense feels it's their job to get the ball back to the offense. That's the definition of a team. Our university needs us to be a team. It's okay to be upset about the situation, but that should not change your heart and how you feel about FAMU. The social media era has conditioned many of us to feel like the sky is falling when it really isn't. I swear this is a blip on the radar. In some ways, we as FAMUans are perpetuating. Taking the cue from an elite group of our students. I was in Jacksonville last week covering Mike Rice and the FAMU golf team. The team dominated the HBCU National Championship and brought home the hardware. Lest we forget that just a few years ago, we disbanded that same golf team. We corrected it, and now we prosper, just as we must do about this situation. As I conclude, I thank you for my time. For us Rattlers who continue to give, we've got to keep doing it and doing it even better. For those who haven't given back yet, there's
Mr.
no
Wilson,
better
your
time
time
than
is
right
up.
now.
Thank you so much. Attorney Barge-Miles, are there others?
Yes. Carolyn Hepburn Collins.
Ms. Collins, you are recognized.
Thank you. Protocol established. Good afternoon, family. I'm Carolyn Collins. I'm a 73 graduate of Florida A&M University. My spouse and I are donors of the university. We are lifetime members and within that founding group. And I'm concerned. I do bleed orange and green, and I wanted to say a couple of things quickly. Dr. Larry Robinson has propelled FAMU with his leadership to areas we've only dreamt about in the past. And now we've achieved those dreams of number 1, number 3, number 91, number 21, and so on. Those achievements that we have received, many may not know what the numbers mean, but that gratitude for those numbers have significant meanings, and we've been proud of it. In this climate of government affairs and in our state of Florida and across this country, only intellectual leaders can accomplish those type of supports, the attributes that FAMU have been placed on the top as we continue to strap for the Carnegie Tier 1. I'm not a Rattler Nation member. I do not know what Rattler Nation is. I do not pay dues for Rattler Nation. I assume it is among a plethora of entities who say they love FAMU and they show it in their way via social media. Social media is, in my personal opinion, is very detrimental. And I stay away from social media. So I am a NAA, a National Alumni member. And so I don't know what social media. So I would ask that when people are asking questions and you're talking, make sure that the National Alumni has been polled to give you those answers that you're looking for. And I agree with the information, of course, stated by my president. I'm a member of the oldest DSO on our campus. I appreciate our leadership and the foundation board and the board of trustees. And I'm looking forward to whatever clarity is required. I'm appreciative for someone who decided to give us some money, whether it was right or wrong. Give those individuals who have the right to correct it, to look at it, to cross all of the T's and dot all of the I's and get it right. It is not our task to try to assume what happened, let them get it happen. And I'm concerned that we give respect for one another while we're doing that. So I'm asking that we respect our chair of the board of trustees, Kristin Harper. We respect Chair Lisa LeBou with the foundation, and I'm not calling names, and that we respect Dr. Larry Robinson. And remember, we're just not that important. What we're doing is not about us. We are not the center of it is. Greg Clark, as past president, always said, it's about Mother FAMU. And as past president, I always said, it's about baby rattlers yet unborn. And don't please take any action that will destroy Mother FAMU or that will destroy our baby rattlers yet unborn that need the right decisions to be made. And oftentimes the wrong may be made, but let's respect them. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. Attorney Barge-Miles, are there others?
No, that was it.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, thank you, fellow board members, for being here for this special meeting. I certainly appreciate everyone's time and attention today. Before we get started, I would like to commend our university team for their capable handling of the operations during the tornado, as the damage to our campus was extensive. I know many of us have been anxious to discuss the matter of the special gift announcement that was made at our recent commencement exercises. I imagine there will be a number of comments and questions. To keep the meeting orderly and timely, please raise your hand in Zoom and wait to be recognized. I appreciate your patience as we waited for the required time period to notice the meeting to the public. Obviously, there's been news coverage and discussion on social media networks and other forums about this topic. There are legal and other implications of making statements about donors, personnel, or the university without all the facts. Out of respect for state law and this board, as chair, I've made one public statement on behalf of the board, despite many requests. That said, make no mistake, I'm committed to accountability, transparency, integrity, and taking action as a board based on the facts. The FAMU Foundation held a meeting where many questions on the gift were addressed, and I anticipate some of those questions will arise today. I've been working tirelessly behind the scenes, including several conversations with President Robinson to understand his role in this transaction and donor relationship. I've directed him to make a statement to our board today on these matters. Dr. Friday-Stroud is also here to answer questions. I've also been in communication with State University System Chancellor Ray Rodriguez and Board of Governor Chair Brian Lamb, and want to thank them both for their commitment to the resolution of this matter. Special thanks also to FAMU Foundation Chair Lisa LeBou and our outstanding foundation board, who share our commitment to resolving this matter. Your expertise and engagement are a true asset to the university in raising and stewarding contributions through exceptional management, investment, and administration of assets. Before I turn it over to Dr. Robinson to address the board, I do see a hand, Vice Chair Gibbons.
I'll wait till Dr. Robinson addresses the board.
Okay, once Dr. Robinson addresses the board, I'd like to make a statement and then I'll open it up to the trustees. Dr. Robinson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Harper and members of the Board of Trustees for allowing me to address you regarding the proposed gift from Mr. Gregory Jarami. Let me begin by stating that as president of Florida A&M University, I take full responsibility for this matter and the ensuing fallout. I apologize to this board, the Foundation Board of Directors, our students and their families, our faculty, staff, alumni, and friends who have worked so hard with us over the past several years to elevate Florida A&M University to its current status as the #1 public HBCU and the rank of 91 in national public institutions in America, according to U.S. News and World Report. It is because of you and a dedicated and committed team of individuals who come to work every day to tend to the welfare of our students and perform their work consistent with our core values of accountability, inclusion, innovation, and integrity. And to our donors whose generosity has led to new levels of fundraising, enabling the university to further support our mission, enhance student success outcomes, and so much more, please know that FAMU is still a sure bet when it comes to stewardship of those funds you provided us, and without question, they will be directed to the programs and special initiatives that you intended to support. Your investments have made and will continue to yield positive outcomes for many years for Florida A&M University. To the governor, the Florida legislature, the board of governors, and state university system chancellor and staff, we're extremely proud of being a part of the #1 state for higher education in America and gratefully acknowledge your vision and substantial investments that help make FAMU a place where students' lives are transformed and endless possibilities created, as indicated by FAMU being ranked 21st in the nation among national universities with regards to social mobility. Thank you. I must admit that missteps were made in the manner we handled the proposed gift from Mrs. Rami. It is my belief that with the guidance of this board, we will arrive at a process much more transparent when it comes to such large gifts in the future. I saw in this unprecedented gift the potential to serve our students and our athletic programs in ways unimaginable at that time. It would truly be transformational, I believe. I wanted it to be real and ignored some warning signs along the way. There was no personal gain, but the impact on our students and our university would have been extraordinary. However, last Wednesday, I received information suggesting that all was not what it appeared. I immediately contacted Chair Harper and VP Dr. Friday-Stroud and informed them that the engagement with Mr. Rami should cease, and we all agreed. For the record, I must note that I did not inform Chair Harper of the gift, nor did I inform Chair LeBou of the Foundation Board of Directors, the chair of the Foundation Board of Directors, prior to the commencement program on Saturday, May the 4th. I owe a sincere apology to Chair Harper, who happened to be at commencement and was asked to pose for pictures with Mr. Rami, not knowing about this whole event or affair. It was reported, by the way, in error, that she knew of the plans, that she did not. My oversight is in no way a reflection of her integrity and diligence. I was determined to honor a non-disclosure agreement that, if violated, I thought would jeopardize this transformational donation. The public announcement at commencement was premature at best, and I apologize to all who witnessed it and shared their joy and jubilation in the Lawson Center and in places through which the ceremony was streamed. In a gesture of good faith and accountability, Dr. Shawnta Friday-Stroud, our Vice President for Advancement and the Executive Director of the Foundation, has decided to step down from her advancement role to focus on her duties at the School of Business and Industry. I've accepted her resignation, and I am thankful for her excellent work in boosting our fundraising to new heights. Her decision shows her dedication to transparency as we move forward. In the meantime, Dr. Donald Palm, our Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, will serve as Interim Vice President for Advancement while discussions are underway as we speak with the Association of Governing Boards, AGB, for a longer-term interim. We will then look at a new full-time dedicated Vice President of Advancement as we review our processes, working closely with this board and the FAMU Foundation Board of Directors. I thank all of you for your commitments to this institution. Our motto has long been excellence for caring, and we will continue to pursue excellence in all that we do here at Florida A&M University. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. That concludes my remarks.
Thank you. Before I recognize other trustees, I would like to make a statement. I want to start by personally saying that I am a proud two-time alumna of FAMU and the School of Business and Industry. For nearly 30 years, I've consistently served this university as the third female student government president in FAMU's history to my current role as the chair of the Board of Trustees of Florida A&M University, a top 100 university, the #1 HBCU for the 5th year in a row, and part of the #1 state in the country for higher education. The love that I have for this university is unquestionable. We've had record-breaking philanthropic giving recently, and it doesn't surprise me that FAMU is attracting the attention of more donors, companies, foundations, alumni, and friends of FAMU who want to invest in our students and their success. I'm grateful for how the institution has flourished in the past several years under Dr. Robinson's leadership. I've told him privately also that I and many others are frustrated and disappointed about the reason we're here today, or the implications this could undoubtedly have on donor trust and confidence. What does surprise me, however, is how the events concerning this gift have unfolded. As chair of this board, I, nor my fellow trustees, nor the FAMU Foundation should have been caught by surprise with the public announcement of a gift of this magnitude. I accept your apology, Mr. President, because I should have never been put on the spot or used for a convenient photo or video op for a gift that I knew nothing about. I fully support your decision to cease this transaction. Only wish the decision would have been made during the 6 months spent on developing the gift and before a public announcement would have been made that could tarnish the reputation of this university. We have to do everything in our power to make sure that this never happens again to FAMU or to any institution. And as unfortunate as this situation is, I have unwavering confidence that FAMU will emerge from this dark cloud stronger than ever. As you know, we have fiduciary duties of care, loyalty, and obedience, which includes pursuing the interests of the institution with reasonable diligence and prudence, placing the interests of the institution ahead of our own, and ensuring that the institution complies with all applicable laws and regulations, its own policies, and carries out its mission appropriately. Per our bylaws, this board holds the president responsible for the university operation and management, performance, fiscal accountability, and compliance. The distinction between governance and operations is important. In compliance with our board operating procedures, the Florida Sunshine Law, the state statutes, we're here today to thoroughly and transparently address the concerns that have been raised and to take action as a body. There are several facts that need to be uncovered. What is our process for major gifts? Did this situation conform to policies, processes, delegated authorities, and internal controls? How and by whom was the value of the gift determined? What was the due diligence process, findings, and the decision-making criteria used to move forward? What are the criteria to determine when to make a public announcement of gifts? How was the donor given a platform to speak at commencement? When should chairs and bodies of the Foundation Board of Directors and the FAMU Board of Trustees have been made aware of this major gift while staying in compliance with donor privacy and confidentiality policies? And do our policies and procedures reflect industry best practices? I'm certain there are many more questions. FAMU is the college of love and charity, and today we need more clarity. Transparency and accountability are critical to understand what happened, why it happened, and to take swift and corrective actions based on facts to improve the operations and controls of our university. I believe this is best achieved with external support. Therefore, I move that the Board of Trustees hire an external firm to perform a complete investigation of the major gift since its inception, to determine what happened, to complete and perform a complete audit and analysis of the university's compliance with policies, processes, and financial controls, to recommend any corrective actions, and to produce a report that reflects best practices.
Madam Chair,
Is there a second?
a second for discussion purposes.
Okay. We will open up the floor for discussion. I see four trustees, and you'll be recognized in the following order. Trustee Gibbons, Trustee Perry, Trustee Klatt, and Trustee Lawson. Go ahead, Trustee Gibbons.
Madam Chair, I will second your motion if I could add an amendment to your motion. is that this investigation that we give the compliance and audit chairperson, trustee White, the gavel on leading the investigation, and all other trustees stay out of the investigation, as that's where that would sit. And then also authorizing trustee White to have negotiating power to work with the firm that moving forward so that we can engage them.
Okay, I will certainly accept the friendly amendment that the Chair of Audit, Trustee White, be responsible for this from a board perspective. And I would also add that that should be with his university counterpart, Vice President Joe Malachewski, who is the Vice President of Audit. So I will accept the first friendly amendment, and I'll address the second next. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I think that the depth of this investigation and in all that has happened in this process, we really should leave university employees out of this investigation. We were not notified, so we don't know to what depths this goes, who knew what, and in light of that, and I would like to get Judge Perry's input on this. In light of that, we really should let this investigation lie where it's supposed to be, which is in compliance and audit, and let the trustee conduct the investigation, because we were not notified. We don't know anything. We don't know any of the processes. We don't know who was involved, who actually knew, who didn't know. And so as a fiduciary, to make sure that when this third party comes back, that everybody can be clear and exonerated on the university side, on the board of trustees side, foundation side, whoever, then we probably should not have university employees involved in this particular process.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is not to involve university employees in a investigation. I would, the two folks that you mentioned as it relates to their roles, VP Malachewski with audit and Ms. Rika Calhoun from a compliance perspective, if they're on the line, I would appreciate guidance and or if our general counsel has insight into policies, procedures, et cetera, to ensure that we're in compliance. Trustee Perry, would you like to make a comment on this matter, or would you like us to pause to see if we have?
No, I'd like to make a comment. In view of everything that has gone on, and as Trustee Givens indicated, we don't know who did what and when it happened. It is my opinion that we need somebody who's completely free of involvement with the university to conduct an outside investigation. It would be helpful if they contact those two people, Ms. Calhoun and Mr. Malachewski, in order to contact different people, but they should not be involved in this investigation, in my opinion. If we want this thing to be completely transparent and free, because they are university employees. And I think we do have the latitude to do that if we want a complete, thorough investigation free of any internal influences. Thank you.
Thank you. I do see Ms. Calhoun on the line, and I'm not sure if VP Malachewski, I'd see both of them here. So VP Malachewski, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Harper. Yeah, I appreciate the comments by our trustees. I think that traditionally this has been handled as trustees aren't university employees. There has to be a university employee that handles the administrative matters associated with contracting with an external party. And so traditionally that has fallen to me. My functional reporting role is to the Board of Trustees. I have an administrative functioning role to President Robinson. So I'll just share that for now.
And I agree. I have the same reporting line to the board and the administrative line to Dr. Robinson. So the reason for that is that it assists us in preserving our independence. But from the perspective of external investigations, Joe is right. We do assist with the administrative aspects of the investigation, but not the investigation itself.
You just muted yourself accidentally, it looks like. Go ahead.
Yep. And that was all I wanted to add.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. Trustee
I-
Perry.
I
We have a
think you
few
can
hands
accomplish-
raised.
Yeah,
It's a follow-up to what I just said.
yeah, and we'll get
You
to
can still accomplish the same thing. They can be involved in contracting, but they should not be involved in selecting the outside law firm. Yes, they need to look at the contracts to make sure that it meets regulation and pass muster. But and if there's any hesitation or reservation about this, then reach out to the Board of Governors and get their opinion. But I think we're in safe ground if they only do the ministerial things, such as making sure the contract is in compliance with state rules and regulations, but should not be involved in the selection of the firm, except to make sure that it follows the rules and regulations. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. May I suggest that we consult with the Board of Governors as to
Madam Chair, we have some hands raised before you go on, please.
okay, I was addressing the friendly amendments.
Right, but we're diving into operational
Okay.
stuff and we're a board. That's not what we're for.
So let me hear all the comments and then I'll come back to address the friendly amendments. Go ahead, Trustee Clapp.
All right,
and
so
Trustee Lawson.
so my comments are, first of all, forgive me for the outside noise. I'm in a remote location. We have an audit committee. I don't want to challenge Judge Perry's comments at all on the legal side because that's not my area. Well, if we're talking about a board and board governance, we have one employee. That one employee has acknowledged that he was the leader of this group. He was the leader. He owns this. So I think we need to put this to the committee, the audit committee, and the audit committee should be making the recommendations that you as the chair are making, because we're not supposed to be in the operations of the university. We are taking the work from the chair of the audit committee, which we put them in that position for a reason. We are distracting from the audit person, which is Mr. Malashevsky, and he's in that position for a reason. He reports to us. We all know that he reports to us, not necessarily the president. So I think at some point in time, we have to follow the process. The process is we agree that we want to have an investigation. We have the audit committee take that on. The audit committee comes back, makes a recommendation to us and to you as the chair, and we give them direction from there. I think that would be the best. The audit committee may very well come back and say that staffers should not be a part of it. That's fine, but it should be the audit committee. If not, why do we have an audit committee? We are here today because processes have not been followed. At some point, we have to follow processes that are in place. And then at some point, we have to look at those processes and say, maybe some of those processes are outdated, but there's a process to address that as well. So my hand was up for a completely different reason. It was before you went on and made this motion. So I will leave my hand up for additional comments, but just on this comment of making a motion to whatever it was that you just rattled off, I think you're giving operational instructions and we need to give this to the committee. Those are my comments.
Thank you for your comment, Trustee Clapp. Trustee Lawson, you're recognized.
Yeah, two things, if I could do both and save some time. I just want to make sure I understand the scope of the audit, because I think we want to understand how we got to where we are with the gift, and you know, the potential donors' background and financials, et cetera. And I also think we want to understand potential process breaks within the foundation's process. So will the audit get at both pieces of that, Chair Harper, or you know, one piece of that, and then there will be a separate discussion around foundation processes?
Yes, thank you for that question. The original motion did not include investigation of the donor. I would certainly accept that as a friendly amendment if that's something that you want to.
Well, when I
add.
say investigation, I want to be respectful of the potential donor. I only want to understand the financial wherewithal to make this size of a gift. I don't want to go any further than that, because I do want to be respectful of the potential donor. So that would be my friendly amendment. But also my question is, we do have some concerns about our own internal processes within the foundation. Will this audit get at those, or would that be a separate discussion?
One of the things that I consider, so as it relates to the financial wherewithal, I can add that to the motion.
Right.
As it relates to the processes of the foundation, one of the things I considered was in the recommendation of corrective action to also suggest best practices in the context of the FAMU Foundation. Would that cover what you're?
Well, it will cover, Chair. It's just that I'm thinking about this audit. One, I don't want to make it too broad because I want the results quickly.
Yep,
So what I want to understand is, what were the processes followed on our campus? I'd love to understand a little bit more about the potential donor. 3, there clearly needs to be some work on processes within the foundation, and we may say, for expediency's sake, let's handle the first 2, and the third may be, you know, a follow-up, and I'm okay with that. And then as I look at this and I think this thing through, because all of the people around the table from an audit and compliance standpoint functionally report to the board, but administratively report to the president, I just want to be sure that we're able to operate in an untethered fashion. And I do concur that the audit should be, and I know we're kind of backward. I agree with Trustee Cladd on this point, because it should be coming from the audit committee, but I understand where we are, but I think the audit chair would probably agree. We need to do the audit, and I think the audit needs to be run directly through the board's audit chair with administrative oversight from university employees, i.e. contracts, procurement, et cetera. But I think we want to make sure that this audit is able to take place untethered, uncompromised, uninfluenced by any university employee. So that would be my friendly amendment to your motion.
Okay. So I will give me just a moment and I will read the revised motion. Okay. I move that the board hire an external firm to perform a complete investigation of the major gift since its inception to determine what happened, to perform a complete audit and analysis of the university's compliance with policies, processes, and financial controls, to, and this is where I need to revise, to understand the, you said financial wherewithal of the donor. You're muted.
We don't agree with the first sentence.
I'm sorry, was that true? Well, let me finish this. So you were correct, Chair Harper, in my statement, but I think there's objection to my statement from Trustee Cladd.
Okay, so I'm not going to include that, but what I've added is to produce a report that reflects best practices, as well to recommend any correct. Let me start. I move that the board hire an external firm to perform a complete investigation of the major gift since its inception to determine what happened, to perform a complete audit analysis of the university's compliance and policies, processes, and financial controls, to recommend any corrective actions and process policy changes to the FAMU Foundation, and to produce a report that reflects best practices under the leadership of the Board of Trustees Audit Chair.
One correction, Chair Harper, there were three pieces, right? One was how the process evolved on our own campus. Number two is, let's say, for lack of a better term, the true resource pool of the potential donor, right, to a limited degree. And number three, which is foundational processes. And my question or my reco is maybe we separate the three. We go with the first two now, and you and Chair LeBou can decide potentially on an approach to look at the foundational best practices from the standpoint of dealing with major donors communication, how NDAs are processed, because, one of the questions that I'll have downstream is, did we ever push back or redline the NDA to give us more latitude in our discussions? But I'll save that for a few minutes later.
Okay, so I've removed the statement around any process changes for the foundation board. Thank you, Trustee Lawson. I do see Trustee Gibbons' hand and Trustee Washington as well. And Trustee Perry, to clarify, we'll go on that. Go ahead.
Okay, Madam Chair, two quick things. Trustee Clatt, while I appreciate everything that you said, this is an unprecedented meeting. It's called a special meeting for a reason. We don't know the depths or the magnitude of what happened in this situation. And so there could be possibly some criminal violations and other things that could be involved in this whole transaction. And so I do support the chair in terms of making sure that we have external folks. It should sit not with the committee. It should sit with the chair of the compliance and audit and allow him to work with Mr. Malachewski and any other staff to enter into an agreement to move the investigation forward so that we can get facts. We didn't receive those facts prior to this. We didn't get anything prior to this. And now everybody gets on here and we're all talking about processes and procedures. We don't even know what those are and how they exist. And so as any good businessman, you don't interject yourself, right, into an investigation. You take in the facts so that folks can be cleared or not cleared. We know specific violations that happen and other things. And now we're dumping in here where we're going to go and do all these things at the foundation and all that stuff. Yesterday or Monday, I think it was, the DSO committee has already voted to come and bring before the board, again, being transparent, including having integrity and accountability, where we will come forward and we will have the discussion about all DSOs and doing a deep dive into bylaws and other things. We've had that discussion. We are here today to do one thing, and that is to find out the facts related to this particular donation, what happened, when it happened. I'm sitting here with over 100 questions that are written here right now. Right now. We need to move on and get an independent person. You can go talk to the BOG, you can talk to anybody you want to, but here's what I'm going to share with you. I have gotten calls from alumni, I've gotten calls from a lot of family faithful, folks who are donors and so many other things. This should not have happened. And in light of that, we need to get the facts, not play around with this, not do anything that makes everybody else feel good, because this is uncomfortable. I'm upset that I have to sit here and be doing this right now when all it took was normal due diligence. I had a journalist tell me that I don't know how these people worked on this for 6 months, and I got the information that I got in 2 days. So let's stop with all the friendly amendments and all this other stuff, and let's get down to the business at hand, which is provide some leadership as a trustee and as a fiduciary. And as far as the NDA, Madam Chair, the NDA does not preclude anybody on any campus. I've been a trustee for over 20 years in this community college system. I've also on another board. And Judge Perry is as capable of any expert in this country when you're talking about legal matters. And I will share with you that whoever signed any document any NDA is acting as an agent on behalf of this board, because the power and the fiduciary responsibility lies with us. And so, Madam Chair, I hear what we're saying about all these other things. That's fine, well and dandy, but we're sitting here because somebody did something wrong, unfortunately. And now we need to move forward and get an outside investigation. Put this in Mike White's hands as Chair of Audit and Compliance. Let him negotiate whatever firm that we see fit and move this process forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And with that, Trustee Washington, is your comment related to the motion that's on the floor? If not, I'd like to move us to a vote, please.
Yes, I would like to say, and I appreciate you trying to move this forward, but I think, perhaps we got a little bit ahead of ourselves in doing the motion, because what you're hearing, I think, is a bit of frustration from some of the board members who would like some additional clarification. What I did appreciate, I was able to listen on the foundation board meeting, and they actually were able to ask some questions that may be our internal questions or questions that they had received from different constituencies who had reached out to them. So I appreciate, the expeditiousness of trying to move this forward, but what you're hearing is a sentiment of frustration from a number of us who are very disappointed at this happening, and what feels like an attempt to prevent us from being able to address some of those concerns. And so what I would ask is that we are respectful of, the fact that many of us have questions. We would all like to move forward to a conclusion, but, if there are questions, directly that we could ask of President Robinson or staff today, that we would be able to do that.
Absolutely. And that is absolutely the intent, is to be able to ask questions as well. So at this point, I'd like to call for the vote.
Unreadiness.
Okay, your unreadiness, sir.
My unreadiness is one. If we're going to talk about going forth with an investigation, and then you're going to interrogate possible witnesses now, you're going to compromise your investigation. That's all I'm going to say. If you want to go forward, you're going to ask for an independent investigation by an outside agency to gather the facts, but now we're going to do our own interrogation. This has nothing to do with the day-to-day operations of the university. We're asking an outside agency to come in and tell us what happened so we can formulate policy to deal with it. I also have heard that the foundation is conducting an investigation. You cannot have two investigations going on at the same time. You just can't. That's ludicrous.
Thank you for that, Trustee Perry. I'm sorry.
So that I'll finish my comments, but and that's it. But I just don't think we need to move forward with questions. But you satisfied my unreadiness by letting me speak my piece. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Perry. I do want to clarify that during last week's FAMU Foundation meeting, the approved vote was to evaluate through a multidisciplinary, multi-committee to evaluate the bylaws, processes, procedures, et cetera. And so the foundation is not, to my knowledge, conducting any external investigation.
Again, the Board of Trustees is the ultimate authority.
Yes.
And they're going to be going over the same things that we're going to be going over. And the danger is commingling with two separate committees doing the same thing, but the board can vote to do whatever we want to do. Thank you.
Thank you. And so what I also heard you say, Trustee Perry, and especially given your expertise within the law field, is that questions today by the trustees could compromise an independent investigation. Did we hear you correctly?
That's correct. If we're going to serve as the fact-finding folks now, you might as well not have an investigation. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that insight, I will certainly open it up for commentary, but would ask, depending on the outcome of this motion, we'll determine that at that time. Is there any further unreadiness before we call for the vote?
Yes.
Trustee Klatt, you're recognized, and Trustee Lawson.
So again, I think Judge Perry made some good comments, right? As far as the investigation that takes place, and then us allowing people to ask questions prior to the investigation. And then I also understand the vice chair's comments, because quite a few of us have some comments in regards to what has happened. As a board, which I don't know how to navigate because of the system that we operate in, as a board, we need to decide what are the first two steps we want to take place right now. Because as the vice chair mentioned, he has some similar comments that I have. The president of the university, our only employee, has made a comment that he did not inform the board. He did not inform the foundation board chair prior to this happening. That's an admission right there. The chair of the board of trustees, you mentioned that you were there. They talked you into a photo op of taking it. We understand that. But as a board, you represented the board by sitting at the table and signing a document. And we have a problem with that as well. And we also go back to another photo op where the board chair was there to sign on with someone else that the board had not been consulted on. So those are the issues that we have right now, yet we're trying to vote on having an external audit. We already have the people that said they did not include the board of trustees. They did not include the foundation board. Yes, there are some processes that we want looked at from the foundation. The president of the university, our employee, has said he did not tell them. I understand we want to find out if that is a true fact. So we as a board, we need to find out what are the first two steps we're looking for to happen. So number one for me just happened, my public acknowledgement that I am not happy with the president of the university making that decision. I'm not happy with the president of the university asking the board chair to sit here in a photo op and do this. I'm not happy with the board chair for sitting there in a photo op and doing this, knowing or not knowing, because we are the governing body. We don't do things without asking questions. That's why we're here. The university did things without asking questions. So we can't apologize in 30 seconds and it's gone. So as a board, what are the two steps? And as the chair, you need to lead us to what does the board want the next two steps to be?
Thank you, Trustee Klatt. And what do you want the next two steps to be? And then we'll recognize Trustee White and Trustee Reed. I do want to recognize that it is also 3:57.
I think that as a board, we need to take a look at number one, our one employee who has made the comments. And I really relish the comments that the past NAA president Collins made, as far as I support the university. I support the president on the academic side. We have some management issues from the president's office. My performance reviews over the past few years have noted that. As a board, we've been silent on some things. In our last board meeting, a motion was made to remove the $1 million authorization on the president. I voted against that. Here we are, a prime example of why we don't need those types of removals. So as a board, let's stop reacting and let's be the adults in the room and let's set some policies and some guidance going forward. Last comment, I heard very recently Tom Brady, a person who I'm not a fan of, made a comment. Somebody asked him about the Deflategate. Brady made a comment that the NFL spent $20 million to investigate Inflategate, when the commissioner of the university, all he had to do was ask him, commissioner of the NFL, all he had to do was ask, and he would have told him, yeah, I did it. So they wasted $20 million. So if we move forward with hiring a firm, we need to know what those costs are ahead of time. So what does the board want to do?
Thank you, Trustee Klatt. Trustee White, you're recognized, followed by Trustee Reed.
Thank you, President Robinson, Madam Chair. What I will say is, and this is something that I'm a quote unquote baby on the board, and also as one of the youngest ones, I understand my position. But one of the things I've always had trouble with being on this board is that I feel like I know nothing that's going on. I'm the last one to hear what's going on. To be honest, it would have been great to celebrate in the opportunity to see our institution receive one of the largest gifts that any HBCU has ever received. I felt sick not even having that opportunity to celebrate in that opportunity. I feel like there is too many times that we get caught up as the board with decisions that are made, and then we're having to take time out of our busy days. We're not paid for these positions. We're not paid for these roles. These are things that we do out of the kindness of our heart. And it takes a lot to stand up here and to be able to deal with these. These are definitely tough conversations that need to happen. The comment I will make is, as a leader and owner of a company, if one of my presidents decided to sign an NDA on something that happened to do with my company and then not tell me what that NDA was about or anything, I would have definitely been upset. And so to hear how everything has played out and the different things that have happened and transpired over this time it's a little upsetting. I would say the other thing I was very disappointed about is the fact that on Sunday, when questions did come out, the institution decided to double down and say we did our due diligence. To me, that was a lack of oversight. And it's like, why double down if we have not done that? And so, as much as I do not want to lead this agreed upon procedures report, which it probably will end up being based upon AICPA rules. So as I do have to lead that, I do want to I want to make sure that I do connect with Joe, have a great relationship with him and Rika. There's going to be a need across the whole board, whatever we decide to do, investigation report, review, whatever you all want to call it. To me, we have to get down to the nuts and bolts of what is going on. Why is transparency seem to be lacking? Why is management feeling is that they do not have to tell us very key, insightful things? Like this was a very big and key one. Our policies and procedures needed to be buttoned up. Like those are the things that need to be identified, and we really need to get down to the nuts and bolts of it. I am a proud graduate of Florida A&M University, proud graduate of SBI. I put my money where my mouth is. I have donated quite a bit to this university, and I will continue to love and support this university. This university has been going on for 136 plus years, and it is my job and our roles to make sure that we give those opportunities for another 136. So as we do this review, we need to understand what's going on so that we can move into the future and to see who all was responsible for this lapse of judgment. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee White. Trustee Reed, you're recognized.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Maybe just a couple of quick comments. I mean, I think we're all very passionate about this topic, and it's evident by, the number of participants we have on this call. One thing I think we're all trying to get to is fundamentally transparency. And I think the way that we get to this transparency is via an independent third-party review. I think that is necessary, but we can't have an exhaustive process where we don't get any information until it's complete. So we fundamentally need to break it down where we first get an assessment of what truly happened so that we get transparency to what occurred holistically. I think Trustee Gibbons made a very good point in terms of we have a portion of the information, we don't have all the information. And that's what a third-party investigation will allow you to be able to have. And I understand, Trustee Klatt, that you said the president has basically taken responsibility for this, which we understand, but we don't know what he's taking responsibility for until we have someone fully investigated and are able to basically come back to this body and the rest of the family community with, here is all that has transpired and fundamentally what that looks like. And then I think as a board, once we get this information back, then we take that information and we make decisions around what are the next steps going forward. I think we can't take any action until we understand what that is from an independent third party. We've gotten a lot of information from many sources, but fundamentally, until we get it from a third party that's fundamentally going through the due diligence of running that process, we won't fully have an understanding of all aspects of what took place here so that we can then take the matter forward swiftly. And I think that's where we all need to get relatively swiftly and moving this forward. So the motion you made, Madam Chair, in terms of how we proceed with the friendly amendments that were made, I fully support that. I do not think we need to have any more discussion on the topic and let that external information be what provides us with the opportunity to then ask more questions and then go forward from there.
Thank you, Trustee Reed. I think you raise a very good point as it relates to milestones and regular updates and the need for a swift investigation. Trustee Stone, Trustee Crossman, and then we will vote unless someone calls for the question. You're recognized, Trustee Stone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I'm a FAMU graduate, and hearing the news about the potential donation really excited me. But the fallout, my own personal diligence, everything I've read has been really disappointing. Even the calls that I've taken to really digest this matter have been quite hollow in evidence that that you would need to even facilitate this process. And so, to be clear, even today, once this meeting started, right, this is new information that I didn't even have, right? The only thing I knew was the photo and who's in it and seeing some of the documents, who signed the documents, right? And so thinking about a motion and an external investigation, I get it. It makes sense. That's what we're ultimately going to need. But it feels like there's just base level information that could be helpful here to better understand the scope. I think the scope here is, and the implications could be much wider than passing a motion today with the information that we have, right? So I don't know if there's a milestone here where, we can have just whether it's an internal report or just somebody that, can summarize what is it that we exactly know? What is it that are the facts today? At any level, as a trustee of this university, that's important for me to know to determine what the next steps are going to be. So although I agree in the motion to have an external investigation, it feels like we need more information to even put the scope on that investigation to really move forward there. So that's just my 2 cents, but nonetheless, really disappointed in the information flow. We can talk about what happened, but how do we get the information to really work through this and have a heads up? I think, all parties, quite frankly, could have done a much better job at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Crossman.
Yes, thank you, Chair Harper. I agree with the motion and what you and Vice Chair Gibbons are recommending. I just want to add to this as a subject matter. If anyone follows me on social media, what they will note is I promote FAMU a lot, and it's 100% positive. If I have a negative issue, negative comment FAMU, I go to somebody that's responsible in that area and talk it out privately. My public comments are always positive, but that's just my choice, and I encourage others to consider that. How this relates to this subject, and Chair Harper, I was really feeling empathy when you were talking about your situation with the photo op. When the announcement came out, I of course didn't know anything about it, but when I saw it, because it came through the university, I trusted it to be 100% accurate. I then shared it to my social media. Because I did that, I've now gotten negative social media at me and questioning my integrity because I trusted what came out from the university. You're getting some negativity in this meeting because you trusted. You were standing there and you were asked, and because of the relationship, trusted. So there's a violation of trust. And so the question really comes is, how do we repair that trust? It makes me wonder, Did President Robinson and others not tell us because they don't trust us? And now are we were violated? We need to, how do we now move forward and rebuild that trust? And so the investigation part is important. All of that matters. There's a lot that needs to come out there. My bigger question is that how do we, in the senior leadership roles, repair that trust? And so that needs to, in my opinion, go to some more proactive steps of transparency, like Trustee Stone just mentioned, and also some deeper questions of like, what's going on here that people were not included? When I thought about this situation, I don't understand why you wouldn't go back to this donor and say, hey, look, we're going to add 2 people to this, Lisa LeBou and Judge Perry. That is a simple thing. If that would have happened, none of this would have happened. So why would you not lean into the resources you have? And that is a deep question, I think, that has to get answered. And we're not going to answer it today, but I think you trusted and it hurt you, Harper. I trusted it hurt me. I'm still going to post lots of positive things. That's never going to change. But we need to get that vetted out through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. And it would have been nice for the chair of the Board of Trustees to be aware of the gift agreement as well. And that did not occur as it should have. I see 2 hands, and I know we do have a motion on the floor. Vice Chair Gibbons and then Trustee Lawson.
Madam Chair, I thought that Trustee Clatt, Stone, and Reed all made very good points, especially Trustee Clatt as it relates to what are the next 2 steps. I appreciate your motion. I guess what I would like to do is let's separate these things out, make a motion, and then talk about next steps to make a motion to have a third party outside investigation. I think one of the things that we have left out, I appreciate all discussion around transparency and integrity, but we're also leaving out of this discussion about accountability. And that's what this investigation is going to be about holding people accountable or individuals, or maybe not. Maybe they did do this right or did it as close to right as they could. This is about also accountability. And the third party should be independent, and it should do deep dives all the way down to whether or not we keep talking about the university's rules, policies, and procedures. Great. What about if there were federal, state, and local laws that were violated? We won't know that. So we really do, to Trustee Clatt's point, really do need to outline this, turn it over to the chair of compliance and audit, so that when it comes back, whatever comes back, we can make some clear and decisive decisions or not about where this has gone or went. Let me just be clear about this. I graduated from SBI. I know Shawnta Friday-Stroud. I don't ever believe in any way, shape, or form her intent was to be put in this situation, nor Larry Robinson. But now that we are here, I think Dr. Friday-Stroud, who was my professor, would tell you, you have to follow processes and procedures now so that we can gain back that trust that Trustee Crossman talked about. And so, Madam Chair, I guess when I get to this point, I don't want to belabor this. We should make a motion. It should be on an outside third party to do a deep dive on all those things, from rules, policies, procedures that were followed, weren't followed. How did we get to this point? Who was the main person, not the main person? Document signing, all the way down to were there federal, state, and local laws violated, so that we know all the implications related to this particular transaction to protect what we keep talking about we love, which is our beloved FAMU. This has nothing to do with individuals. This has everything to do with protecting the integrity and the brand of Florida A&M University.
I couldn't agree with you more, and we'll share a revised motion that addresses some of the comments. Trustee Lawson, you're recognized.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try not to repeat what a lot of my colleagues have said, but I thought Trustee Reed did a great job of summarizing where we are in next steps. But the only thing that I would add is, with this motion that I support, Chair, between yourself and Chair White, I would ask for a detailed timeline of key events and activities so that we all stay apprised, because clearly what we're dealing with is a transparency issue We're dealing with a collaboration issue or lack thereof. We're dealing with other departments that had to sign off on these things and validate them. I'd like to better understand that. And at the end of the day, it is going to become an accountability issue. We're going to need to make some decisions as a board on how we move forward. But to not be premature, we need these facts. So, Chair Harper, I'm supporting your motion, but asking for a timeline to be included.
Yes.
Hey, Chair Harper, just real quick to that. Chair, Trustee Lawson, I'm fine with that in the motion. The only thing that I would worry about is why don't we let the person who is leading the investigation come back with that timeline in the motion? Because we don't know how long the person that is going to be doing the evaluation would have to almost give us what he or she thinks would be an appropriate
I would
time.
agree. I mean, there has to be conversation with the firm to agree on timelines. But I just, in the spirit of communication, I just want to make sure that that's a part of the motion such that Chair White and Chair Harper will own getting us a timeline after those discussions with the third party.
Agreed.
Okay, so
Trustee
check this out
Harper,
for size.
Trustee Harper, if I may, Trustee Givens, were you making a separate motion or were you looking to make a friendly amendment to the very long motion that is currently been revised?
I will let the chair decide. I'm happy to make the motion the way I did, and then we can have, after we up or down the motion, we can have further discussion about how we move that agenda forward, because I wholeheartedly agree with Trustee Klatt that there has to be a first step and then a second step, and then we move forward and wait for information. So whatever Chair Harper feels like is most appropriate, you can take mine or somebody else's motion.
Okay, because Chair Harper, if I may, it appears that there are now 3 friendly amendments to your initial motion. And I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what is being, it was motion, it wasn't seconded, there was discussion and unreadiness. So I'm just trying to find out the status of your
her
initial.
motion was seconded by me.
I'm getting ready to read the revised
Okay.
motion, which
Thank you.
includes the friendly amendments that I have accepted.
Okay.
I moved
And it
that
was seconded, Madam General Counsel, it was seconded. I seconded the motion.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification, Trustee Gibbons.
Okay. I move that the Board of Trustees hire an external firm to perform a complete investigation of the major gift since its inception to determine what happened, compliance with applicable policies, processes, and financial controls, to recommend any corrective actions with a written report under the leadership of the Board of Trustees Audit Chair, with regular updates to the Board of Trustees based on the timeline established by the external firm. That revised motion.
If it needs a second, I'll second.
A friendly amendment doesn't require a second, but I appreciate your support, Vice Chair Gibbons.
No, I think that you should just change the motion to that one, honestly.
Okay. General Counsel Wallace, should I rescind my original motion and make a new motion? Or can this motion that I just read be applicable and stand?
That's up to you if you want to rescind it and make a new motion, Chair.
Okay, I'll keep it as is. I do see Trustee May, and then we will vote.
Yes, I just want to say from a student perspective and on behalf of the student body that I do agree that we do need an independent investigation, because this has shown a negative light on our university, which is a direct representation of the students.
Thank you,
Call
Trustee.
for the question.
Okay, call for the question does end debate. So at this time, I will ask Attorney Barge-Miles to conduct a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Ali? Trustee Ali?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes or no? You have to vote the motion up or down.
Can we still have sort of discussions, or we have to vote? Can I have
You have to vote.
Unfortunately, the question has been called, so you have to vote yay or nay at this time.
I'm gonna vote yes.
Trustee Klatt?
I vote yes for an independent audit. And I also want to make known that if the audit firm gives us regular updates, we have to remember that as soon as we hang up, people are going to say the chair was a part of this as far as the photo. So who are the updates going to with the board?
Trustee Crossman,
Yes.
trustee Figurs,
Yes.
can you come on camera, trustee Figurs, so we can confirm that that's you? Trustee Gibbons,
Yes.
trustee Harper,
4.
trustee Lawson,
Yes.
trustee May,
Rev.
pardon me,
Yes.
trustee Perry,
Yes.
trustee Reed, trustee Stone,
Yes.
trustee Washington,
Yes.
trustee White.
Yes.
I can go back to trustee Reed, because I go
yes.
back to trustee Reed because he had lost his connection. Trustee Reed, if you could read the motion again so that trustee Reed could hear it, Chair.
Yes. I move that the Board of Trustees hire an external firm to perform a complete investigation of the major gift since its inception to determine what happened, compliance with applicable policies, processes, and financial controls, and to recommend any corrective actions with a written report under the leadership of the Board of Trustees Audit Chair with regular updates to the Board of Trustees based on the timeline established by the external firm.
And we need your vote, trustee Reed, yes or no? We can't hear you.
I support.
Chair Harper, the motion was approved unanimously.
Thank you so much, Attorney Barge-Miles. Is there any additional discussion for this meeting? I see trustee Lawson, Washington, and then Gibbons in that. Oh, I'm sorry, Ali. You also had we're gonna start with you. Ali, Washington, Lawson, and Gibbons. Trustee Ali, you're recognized.
So with all the respect for the motion, this is a special board meeting. And we are here to just listen about what was going on the proposed gift. So I feel like most of the directions today was around shaping the motion, but not the discussion about the special meeting, that we actually have a special board meeting today about the proposed gift. So I was hoping to gain some more insight and have some discussions, and then maybe move the motions and any actions to the next board meeting. And our next board meeting is on the 29th in Tampa. So I was hoping to have not just a motion for 1 hour and shaping the motion from the Board of Trustees, but I was hoping for discussion related to the main topic that we are really all here today, like the special board meeting regarding the proposed gift. So I feel this is big deal. If we get $270-something million gift, and we are in a new door for like dealing with big donors and big gifts. So my concern is from fundraising perspective, when we run investigations and taking actions, maybe some other big donors with the social media, with that public, Board of Trustees meeting, they might have a concern to give us some fund in the future. So I agree with John that we have to always in social media, like in public meetings, to just put some positive outcomes. We need facts, and I agree with that. We might don't know a lot of what's going on, but that's why we have that special board meeting today. So this is my discussion. I was willing to understand more about, or I came here for 1 hour to understand more about the proposed gift. That was actually the main topic for the meeting, but not a motion and shaping a motion for 1 hour and some minutes, you know. So this is how I see it. Like, we spend more than 1 hour just having a motion of collecting information, and transparency, bringing some more other firm to run and get some more inside information for us. I want to, as John mentioned, I want to trust first. So I want to see what's whoever handled the gift, what's their perspective about the gift, what's the information coming from the gift. And from my understanding, reading all the Board of Trustees policy and procedures, the board doesn't run the university. It's a government body to support the administration. So this is how I see it. So the Board of Trustees the BOT is just it's very important role, but we need some information that's why we came up all together for the special meeting today. And I did read the agenda that we're gonna gain some insight and information and data or facts about what was going on in the gift. That's actually my question for you, Madam Chair Harper. Can I get some information after 1 hour, not shaming a motion or voting for a motion? We still have a lot of time to do that.
Yes, I do appreciate your comments, Trustee Ali. And what I will say is that the president serves the board has a role of governance and fiduciary responsibility for the university. And so I wish this conversation could have been shorter, but it is important that we take the necessary steps around diligence and understanding where we are, why we got here, and taking the necessary steps to move forward. And as frustrating as it might be that it's been over almost an hour and a half to get to this point, what is necessary is that what the board has voted on is unanimously, is that an external third party is in the best position to gather all of the facts and to ask all of the questions. So I know that many trustees have been having a multitude of conversations, email exchanges with the administration, et cetera. And I would ask, and I certainly will defer to Trustee White, Chair of the Audit Committee, but I would ask that if there are any additional questions as it relates to this gift agreement, that they be shared with our board liaison to influence the scope of the investigation that has been approved. So thank you very much, Trustee Ali. Trustee Washington, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Harper, and I hope this will be quick. I know we've had conversations about the current gift and that Dr. Friday-Stroud is no longer the executive director. My hope is that, or my question to you is that maybe at the next board meeting, can we get an understanding of how in this interim phase between, last week and the time that the investigation is done and policies and procedures are enhanced, how we plan to deal with incoming gifts and the process and procedures we will put in place in that interim? That would be helpful.
Yes. How will we receive gifts in the interim? Can you repeat the request so I make sure that it is captured? And I also want to say, Dr. Ali, I am committed that during our board meetings, there will be updates on this as well, including the board meeting at the end of this month. The updates to which we can say, but I do want to let everyone know that in my conversations with various people who I've consulted on this matter who have expertise, the answers will come out in the investigation. And so we cannot, that may preclude us from making comments until the investigation continues. Go ahead, Trustee Washington, would you mind repeating the request?
Yes, the request is just in the interim, how will the university be handling any incoming or currently pending donations?
Okay,
Or gifts, potential
okay.
gifts.
Okay, thank you. I will either add that to the agenda or ask that the administration share that information prior to our next full board meeting. Trustee Gibbons, is your hand up?
I thought Lawson was next. I'm sorry.
He put his hand down. I'm not sure.
Oh.
Trustee Lawson, did you have a
Yeah,
comment?
I put my hand down. I was able to address my issue, Chair Harper.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have two quick things. I think to address Trustee Klatt's question, I think was an excellent question. During any investigation, whoever this third party is that we engage, that all questions be sent to that individual from trustees if they have questions, only to that individual who would act as probably, it sounds like it may be independent audit or law firm or something of that nature, so that we are not violating the sunshine. So whoever that individual is can contact us independently. That's number one. Number two, Madam Chair, and this is not a criticism. It is just to protect us again. I would ask for, I'm gonna bring a motion forward that to direct by the board that we ask Dr. Robinson not to make any personnel changes during this time, as it would look suspicious, fishy, whatever, at the current time while we have an investigation going on to be moving deck chairs around. So I offer that as a motion that we please ask the president, our only employee, to not have any personnel moves during this particular time that the investigation is going on.
So let me address that and then ask for a second if there is one. I think your suggestion to send questions directly to the firm that is hired is a good one. So I rescind the suggestion that I made earlier to send it to the board liaison. So thank you for that. It's been moved to ask Dr. Robinson not to make any personnel changes during the investigation. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
It's been properly moved and seconded that Dr. Robinson not make any personnel changes during the investigation. I do have a clarifying question, Trustee Gibbons. Is that related to his direct reports? Because the president is responsible for the entirety of the operations of the university.
I would, it's a little difficult because we don't know, again, we don't have the facts related to the total brevity of this gift and what happened. So let's start with the direct reports and leave it at that.
Or maybe for clarity,
Can I-
anyone that
can I
was
add in?
involved in the gifting agreement.
Yes. I'll take that
Can I
as a
add a
friendly
little-
amendment.
Can I?
Yes, thank you, Trustee Klatt. I apologize for interrupting. I do want to seek the counsel of the general counsel and anyone else who needs to weigh in because the president does have specific authority as noted in some of the regulations. So General Counsel Wallace, I see that you have unmuted. Go ahead, General Counsel Wallace.
Trustee Perry, were you saying something? He has his hand up. Okay, what I was saying.
All I was going to say is you can make a recommendation
Right.
to the president. You cannot compel him because we only have one employee. You can make a recommendation, and that's as far as we can go. And it is his decision to make that, whether he wants to follow that recommendation or not. But if we compel him, it is my understanding that is a SACS violation.
Madam Chair, I amend.
If I could, to save
Please,
you the
President.
expense of a motion, a second, and discussion, I do accept that advice from the Board of Trustees with one question, and that is, as you know, We're in the early stages of discussions with AGB regarding an interim, right, for the Foundation Board of Directors, and I'd like the board's thoughts on that as well. Otherwise, I accept that recommendation wholeheartedly.
And may I ask, just for clarity, you're talking about direct reports and not the whole of the personnel responsibilities that reside with the president?
My clarified Trustee Gibbons' motion to say only those associated with the gift agreement, because it is a large institution with a lot of moving parts and pieces.
Agree. I would agree to that.
Okay,
My
thank you.
question is this a recommendation or directive? If it's a recommendation, in my opinion, based upon my experience, a recommendation that he can follow or not follow is fine. But when you directly tell him on personnel matters, that has a high likelihood of being a SACS violation.
You're correct, Trustee Perry.
Go ahead, General Counsel, please.
Trustee Perry, you're correct. So I was thinking, based upon what Dr. Robinson said, he was taking it as a recommendation in which he would act upon.
I have grave concerns around.
Okay.
I have grave concerns around this board taking action as it relates to personnel beyond the president. There are a handful of direct reports to the president who on the org chart report to the president, but work on behalf of the board. And I don't want this board to violate any policies, procedures, or put anything for the university operations at risk.
So,
And
Madam
so
Chair,
I have grave concerns about personnel actions.
So, Madam Chair,
I
will leave it as a motion.
Trustee Gibbons, you're recognized.
I'm sorry, I will leave it as a motion, but as a recommendation. So that is on the record and that the board is taking a clear vote on the recommendation.
Trustee Klatt, do you have a comment?
Yes. As a procedural matter, I asked for comments from the judge and general counsel, and we didn't let general counsel finish. So again, we're not following processes. So can we have general counsel, who's supposed to know the answer to this, give us commentary, please? Uninterrupted.
Under the board's regulations, the president is vested with the authority to hire, fire, remove all personnel actions. So, and there are some direct reports of his that directly report, that also report to the board. As Judge Perry correctly pointed out, doing anything short of suggesting that he not make any personnel decisions, and he takes it under advisement, he can either agree to it or not agree to it, but having the board direct him to do so may be a violation of SACS.
If I may, let's take the
Lawson, you're
president
recognized.
let's take the president at his word. And for clarity, we're only asking or suggesting that he not make moves only for those individuals involved in the gift agreement, but other pieces of the institution that need to be run and managed, he clearly will continue in the capacity as usual.
So the motion on the floor is to recommend that Dr.
Well, I don't think
Robinson
that we need to. I don't think we need a motion, meaning that the president has agreed. We're saying only for those individuals involved in the gift agreement. We're going to take the president at his word on that issue because, you know, we will get all the other facts we need pending the investigation. Because, but I think the concern with the motion is it butts up against some SACS requirements, Trustee Gibbons. But I'll hear you out on that one.
I would agree.
You're recognized.
I will rescind the motion as long as Dr. Robinson said he agreed to that. But also, I would just caution him because the foundation was involved in this, and we're talking about putting folks at foundations and all that. That we be careful about doing anything related to the foundation. And so he's taken under advisement. So I will revise my motion and rescind it.
Thank you, Trustee Gibbons.
Thank you. I do want to clarify, what was the conclusion, Dr. Robinson, as it relates to the hiring of the executive director and vice president for university advancement?
I do accept this recommendation. However, I have some concerns about the longer term interim, right, who is not a permanent employee through the AGB, a person who could be used to even assist this body and the foundation board as they work through procedures and processes that can enhance operations there. Right now, as you know, the temporary solution, and I'm so pleased that he agreed to this, is that Dr. Donald Palm, my COO, would serve in that capacity until further notice. Okay.
Thank you. And that recommendation from the trustees who have spoken up only affects those who were involved in the gift agreement. So that would not impact any future hires. Okay. Is there any other discussion that needs to come before the board? Trustee Perry, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, we've had a lot of discussion, but let me say this. While we look to find out what happened, we also must be thankful for those prior to this incident that brought us record numbers in giving. And I would like to personally thank Dr. Friday-Stroud for all of her good years in the foundation. She gave record giving, and I don't want her to ever forget that. I personally, and I hope this board thanks her, because nobody has raised the type of money that she has been. And for those of you who were not on the board, I'm not going to call her name. We lived through a nightmare. So I just want to thank her as we move forward for the outstanding job that she has done. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Trustee Perry, and I concur. Thank you so much, Dr. Friday-Stroud, for your leadership and leading us to record high philanthropy over the past few years. Trustee May, you're recognized.
So being that this incident has, hit the news a lot, how will the university mitigate any potential negative impacts on its financial stability and, more importantly, the reputation of the university?
Yes, how will the university mitigate? Can you repeat that one more time?
Yes, how will the university mitigate any potential negative impacts on not only the financial stability, but the reputation of the university?
Question for the president.
Could I take a shot at that, Madam Chair?
Absolutely.
Right, so in light of an impending investigation, I will say very little about this incident itself. I think enough has been said. A lot more will come out when this investigation is done. I think it's our job, as you heard from Trustee Crossman, to continue to push out positive stories about FAMU. And there are tons of those out there. So we'll be working with you and your fellow students to get the word out that we're still in business. We are financially sound. By the way, this gift would have made a huge difference, but we were not dependent upon this gift for our operations. It would allow us to do some things that we had only imagined up at this point. So we'll get those messages out, and we need your collective help for everybody to understand that FAMU's financial status is strong. We just went through a financial statement audit with no findings, and that attached to it is not just my opinion, it's the opinion of professionals who are independent who played a role in that assessment as well. So we'll continue to push out positive messages. We can never put enough of those out there, but I will not, in light of this investigation, be commenting on this. I will say that even today, I believe it was $225,000 we received a gift from Shell Oil. So there are still people out there who have tremendous faith in you, the students of Florida A&M University, because that's why so many of them are making these investments. We have to get that word out, make that our primary collective duties in the days and weeks ahead.
Thank you. Trustee Gibbons, is your hand still raised? Or is that a leftover?
No, I would like to echo the sentiments of Judge Perry about the foundation. I think, up until this point, we have had record numbers, and they should be praised for that. It's unfortunate where we are, but we must start to move the brand, the university, and this board forward.
Thank you. And as I shared earlier, this has certainly been an unfortunate situation, but I'm always committed, and I know this board is also committed to using any information that we gather and even the unfortunate situations to make us better, to make us stronger. And FAMU has been here for 136 years, and dark clouds have come, and we will get through this dark cloud, and we will get to the other side. And I'm confident that we'll be stronger and we'll be better in the end. We are also working with a communications team that is sorting through various requests, which will be shared with the board. I don't see any additional hands. I would like to thank everyone for joining, for your commitment to this institution, to this board, and most importantly, to the students, so that FAMU can continue to operate in perpetuity. Thank you so much and have a good afternoon. This meeting is adjourned.
All right, can you guys hear me now? Yes? You're on mute. Eric, can you speak?
Yeah.
Chris, you're on mute.
Yep.
All right. All right. Finally. So, gentlemen, that concluded the much anticipated Board of Trustees meeting. And needless to say, I guess maybe there were some surprises, and not so much of a surprise. Earlier today, we reported that Shawnta Friday-Stroud stepped down as the VP of Advancement and as the Executive Director of the FAMU Foundation. She has resigned. During the Board of Trustees meeting, FAMU President Larry Robinson indicated, which I think was probably some shocking news, that oh wow, that's funny. Okay, who put that there? Who did that? Anyway, that's funny. Okay. It's live. What can I say, Amanda? Thank you so much for sticking with us. But FAMU President Larry Robinson indicated that he did not make the board aware, and that includes Chairman Harper, in which he indicated that she was pretty much put on the spot, and that during the board meeting, he made a public apology, and Harper accepted his apology. So let's stop there. What do you guys make of the information about Robinson making it known to everyone, including the chairman, that he didn't make her aware, or that she wasn't aware of that gift until the day of that photo op? What do you guys make of that?
Well, I counter that with this. Her name is also on the smoking gun, if you will, or the Zapruder film. You know, the NDA, because there's Dr. Robinson's signature, A.D. Sykes' signature, Chairwoman Harper's signature, and Gregory Jeremy's signature, who looked like, you know, somebody's 2-year-old child took a colored pencil and wrote it, which should have been clue number 1, that this dude doesn't have 237 cents, let alone $237 million. So if Chairwoman Harper was not made aware, then why would she sign the document? Number 1. Number 2, I think the most damning part of this whole thing is when Dr. Robinson said, "I wanted this to be real." Now, in the interest of fairness, as a head of any organization, you know, Ken is the founder and publisher of HBCU Sports. Imagine somebody came to him and said, you know, I got all this money for you. And Ken don't do his due diligence. And he's like, well, I just want this to be real. Then, you know, we be SOL, but, you know, Ken is a better boss than that. He's going to do his due diligence. Larry Robinson didn't do enough due diligence, and this is why Florida A&M is in the spot they're in right now. Because if you're just going to go ahead and go over everybody's head, because as I said on our Saturday show, my mom told me, you know, when her experience with boards, you know, you have to have a coach, you have to have a forum, you have to follow Robert's rules and all of that. And Larry Robinson just kicked Robert in the butt on the way out the door and said, "Nah, we don't need you for this." So it's like, no, I mean, Shawnta Friday-Stroud, Dr. Stroud, unfortunately, is the one that's falling on the sword for everybody. I don't know how much I want to blame Chairwoman Harper for this, but the blame absolutely starts at the top. I mean, it starts with the head of the snake, no pun intended. This is Larry Robinson's bad, and he made out like a fat rat because any other board would have had a vote for his head to 8.
Yeah. I think that was a surprise as well. I think that many people were thinking heads were going to roll, and you know, I don't know what to make of this. The board pretty much did everything but make the decision to either fire Robinson or to force him to resign. The only conclusion that I could come with that is that maybe, you know, they just want to make sure that they do their due diligence with this outside investigation
before they make any decisions to let anyone go. Jared Hoffman, you listened to the meeting, and we also have Brandon King. Jared, I'll start with you. What were your thoughts initially about the meeting?
There was one sentence from this meeting that I think encapsulates this whole situation. I forget which trustee said it, but it encapsulates the whole thing. All this took was normal due diligence. That's all. They could have ended the meeting right there. All this took was normal due diligence. And because we didn't do normal due diligence, we sat through a near 2-hour meeting talking about investigations and who should be involved. Should it be outside personnel, and should university faculty be involved in this? And it didn't need to happen. None of this needed to happen. Let's talk about President Robinson taking accountability, because that should not be understated, that there's a lot of people who would have sat in his chair and not been as a man about it as he was. So I don't want to scrape that under the rug like it doesn't mean anything, because it does. As a leader, you take responsibility for the good that you do and the bad that you do. And he sat through the face of adversity and he took accountability, and I applaud him for that. That being said, it doesn't keep you from culpability for this, because you saying that I wanted this to be real is not a good look. I wanted this to be real, to me, signals to you heard the total and didn't care where it came from or how you get it. And then you putting out a statement saying that we did our due diligence. You've scrubbed that from all your social media, but we remember that. Right. We know that.
Yeah.
You can delete all of the social media posts you have of Jeremy's name, or you can scrub all the mention of him all you want. This has been reported by national outlets. You can't scrub that. We've seen that already.
Yeah.
So you taking accountability and all this stuff, that's great. But we still have to deal with what was the due diligence that you did.
Yeah,
we still need to figure out where this donation came from, when you heard about it, and what was the steps to signifying whether this was a valid donation or not. Now, let me get to the Board of Trustees president. You can say that you didn't know about
chairperson,
excuse me.
Yeah.
Chairperson. You can say that you didn't know about the donation until you took the picture. But there still needs to be a level of accountability on your end, because, correct me if I'm wrong, there was no gun to your head to take that picture. There was no gun to your head to sign that NDA. There was you still have a say in whether or not you signed that NDA and whether you take that picture, or whether Jeremy is on that stage during your commencement. So you can say all you want and put it all on President Robinson, all you want, that he did all of this without your knowledge and all this type of stuff. You still gave your approval as a witness. So there needs to be a level of accountability on your end, and I didn't see that enough.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want to say I want to give Brendan a chance to follow up on that. Finish your thoughts, Jared.
Oh, that's basically where I wanted to end it, is that I didn't hear enough level of accountability on the chairperson for her culpability in this, and that you gave your approval when you didn't have to. And you didn't, I don't feel like we're all saying that President Robinson didn't ask enough questions. She didn't ask enough questions. Mm-hmm. She didn't ask where this money was coming from and who was donating it and what does he do and how is he able to get the funds to give to our university, and how do we get are we getting the money in the full amount, or what will we have to do? There wasn't enough questions on her end, just as much as there wasn't enough questions on his end. So I didn't hear enough accountability on her end, and I feel like she deserves just as much of the scrutiny as President Robinson is getting.
Brandon, you're on mute, but let's hear your thoughts on this.
I believe it was, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this, Trustee Klatt. I believe that was how you say his name. When he said, you have a lot of people doing things without asking questions. And I think that had those questions been asked, we probably wouldn't be here even having to have this live to discuss this. Because it's not like we're talking about, you know, Lady Eustacy from the First Baptist Church pinching off $15 of her Social Security to send to FAMU. We're talking about $250 million. And all I kept hearing was, well, processes, what our internal, a gift of that magnitude, it almost sounds like they didn't have anything, you know, and it goes back to President Robinson's statement that he said he wanted it to be real. You wanted it to be real so much that certain things, certain checks were not made. And then his statement later in the meeting almost seemed to contradict that in a sense, because you said that the university was in sound financial position. Well, if you're in sound financial position, I'm gonna use I've been in sales before, and one of the things that they would tell us is not to go into a meeting with quote unquote commission on your breath. You're so desperate to make a sale. And that's almost what it is. They had their eyes were like on the cartoons, green with the money sign. They didn't look into seeing, okay, well, where's this coming from? Because if you don't have those checks and balances, you open yourself up to a world of issues. Because if I'm trying to maybe clean some money, I'm gonna just donate it here. If there's a no questions asked policy, and to me that's concerning, that it almost seems like those things were not in place. And once again, here we are with FAMU having to bring in outside entities to tell them things that you should already know.
So let me stop you there, Brandon, because I was just about to get to that. So obviously the board, and I believe it was unanimous, decided to move forward with this investigation to get someone to come in and do an investigation and audit and go over practices and procedures and to review what currently is in place. And I really don't want to make light of that. I mean, in the greater scheme of things, and when you put in consideration a 9-figure deal that ultimately wasn't a 9-figure deal, and the embarrassment that FAMU, they're gonna have to live with this for a long time. I mean, this isn't the typical issues that have, pop up, coaches being hired and fired and AD debacles and stuff like that. This was major. Even so much so that, the student representative who was on there, I felt for, because, her thing is, as a student, and I'm paraphrasing here, we got to live with this. I go out in the world and I tell somebody I went to Florida A&M University. I graduated from FAMU University, and maybe this will kind of die off in the distant future. But as of now, I apply for a job, I apply for an internship, or something comes down, and now I've got to tell somebody I attend FAMU or I attend Florida A&M, and I've got to live with any kind of scrutiny that a prospective employer is looking at this, and they're going to say, and she's saying, how are you going to mitigate this for us? Because we got to go here. We attend here. And ultimately, we're paying you money to help us to become productive after we leave, and we don't need this stain on our name. Go ahead, Jared.
I just wanted to talk about that point that you brought up, the student representative who asked, how are you going to, and I'm paraphrasing the question because I don't remember her direct wording of it, but, how are you going to help in terms of the public perception of us as we move forward? And what you heard a lot of people of the trustees who spoke during the meeting was they're not on social media. they said that a lot. They're not on social media, so they don't know a lot about what is going on. They're not a part of the FAMU Foundation. And I think that is important because a lot of the FAMU student body, a lot of them are on social media and they represent proudly Florida A&M. And one thing that they're going to have to deal with when they speak about FAMU is, oh, well, your FAMU for your school got scammed for $237 million. You know, it don't matter if you're in good financial standing. That's not a good enough answer because how many times have we seen rumors come out and it be clearly false and the jokes still run.
Yeah.
The jokes don't stop just because the truth tells you something differently about what the situation is. The jokes come no matter what. So if you want your student body to represent Florida A&M proudly, you need to have a necessary plan to repair the reputation of Florida A&M in a way that it doesn't drive away prospective students. Because the prospective students don't care about the truth is. How many times have we seen the truth be clarified on a situation, but it still doesn't get the attention of the initial report? The initial report is already out there. We already know what the initial report is. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are in reality of the situation. The reality is FAMU isn't hurting for money. But what we already know is that you handled it in a way that contradicts that.
Yep. Hey.
So you need to find a way to repair Florida A&M's name and let people know that you are an institution that is better than this, that this is a rare occurrence, and that we are going to whatever the right wording is. I don't know. Y'all figure it out. Y'all the institution, but like that, I don't think that he took that question with the respect that it deserves and that it needs, because that is important. And it was a great question that I feel like he kind of shoved to the side like it wasn't important, and it absolutely is.
I don't think he thought it wasn't important, to be honest with you. I just don't think he was prepared to give an answer that was satisfactory. This man is put on he is I think you're talking about Robinson, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He is in hot water, man. And I just think that, I think he cares. It's just he just didn't have a suitable answer.
Just real quick, I just want to say, if that's the case, then why did he step forward with that question? She put that out as a general question. He stepped forward and he gave that answer. If you don't have a suitable answer to that question, don't step forward and give a statement to the question if you don't have an answer that is suitable enough.
So, Chris, there was one of the trustee Givens, for whatever reason, one of the items that became, I don't know, something that was, I guess they went back and forth on. They suggested that employees be left out of the investigation. Now, there was some back and forth on that with respect to, I guess maybe they felt that individuals, because keep in mind, this was a process that, according to reports and according to those individuals, was 6 months in the making. And so the board, the foundation says, hey, we didn't know anything about this. The board of trustees are saying we didn't know anything about this. But apparently there was a level of discrepancy as to whether or not the investigation should or should not include employees. What do you think, or what should we make of that debate? And is there any validity to the argument?
Not sure how you're going to have a thorough investigation if you aren't questioning people who are close to said investigation. Like, I'm a person that watches 48 Hours in Dateline all the time, and when these cops go and investigate these murders, these different crimes and things, they talk to everybody. Like they say it all the time. Whenever a spouse is found deceased, the first person they check is that person's spouse. Mm-hmm. So if you're gonna do an investigation into who flubbed a fraudulent $250 million donation, but you can't talk to the people who oversaw the flubbing of the $250 million donation,
or who may have had a role, right?
Or who may have had a role,
right?
Then your investigation is not going to go very far.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're excluding university employees, then you're probably excluding whoever is. I mean, you can't exclude a murder suspect until they take a polygraph or their DNA gets cleared. You can't exclude whoever may have flubbed this situation without making sure their handprints, their fingerprints aren't on this thing, or they have an airtight alibi. That's the only way you can actually exclude anybody that is not a Florida A&M employee. So
Okay.
That makes no sense.
Okay, so that's one side of it, but because the confusion with me and you guys out there listening in the comments, please feel free to provide some clarification because I tried to take notes. Now, was the suggestion that employees not be a part of the investigative team because there was argument whether they're going to do it internally or whatever the case may be, or was there actually an argument that they not include employees in the investigation? I mean, wasn't that kind of like, if we're going to do an internal investigation, employees can't be involved with it? I mean, there's some confusion there, and I'm not exactly sure what point they were trying to get at.
So what I gathered from it, and maybe I'm wrong, but what I thought is that they were saying that you can look in the books to see that everything was done within compliance, but I don't think that they said that they couldn't be interviewed or that they couldn't be interviewed. I just think that they were saying that they can't be a part of the investigation because there may be someone who was involved and they could be absolved from responsibility if they were a part of it. Maybe they were saying that it was a conflict of interest, but that's what I perceived from it.
One other comment, there was Trustee Michael White, who made the comment that he indicated that he's the youngest on the board, and he said that he feels like he never knows what's going on with the board. Did anyone catch that? Any thoughts on that, Brandon? Any thoughts on that, on the comment that Trustee White made with respect to him being the youngest on the board and for whatever reason not never knowing what's going on with the board?
I think it speaks to a couple of things that I saw as the meeting carried on. Was one, there is a gap in terms of kind of being on the cusp of information and embracing the times in terms of the board members, as it already has been pointed out, consistently saying how they don't do social media, they don't know about social media and things of that nature. Also, the other thing is it speaks to a gap in basically a generation gap, but also the overall theme of people seeming not knowing what one hand is doing, so to speak. So looking at it from that standpoint, yeah, I could definitely see why the young brother would say that, because if the body as a whole is not aware of certain things that they clearly should be aware of, then it certainly stands to reason that individuals, especially the younger side, who obviously they will consume information differently than, say, some of the older, the more seasoned individuals on the board. I can definitely see that. It made complete sense to me when he said it.
So you know what, guys? Look, we've been covering this thing for the past 2 hours, and we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. But I want to give you guys each a closing comment. Chris, we'll start with you.
This is devastating for Florida A&M. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're talking about just about less than 2 weeks ago, we were celebrating what was to be the largest donation in the history of HBCUs. It would have more than doubled Florida A&M's total endowment. And because the president of the university did not do his due diligence, he saw $237 million and lost his mind and didn't stop to think where $237 million from a dude dressed like Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants was coming from. Then I'm sorry. I've been sitting on that for so long. That
SpongeBob, dude, really? SpongeBob?
That dude looks like Plankton. I am so sorry. Everybody's going to be upset with me about this, but he looks like Plankton. I had to get it off my chest. Sorry. But when you don't take into account, when you don't do the due diligence, this is why we're sitting here on a call. This is why we're in a board meeting for 2 hours almost. And those of us who are here, we're sports journalists by trade. We don't do board meetings. We don't do quorums. We don't do motions. We don't do all in favors. We tell you who won, who lost, who scored the most, who ran for the most, who passed for the most. We don't do that type of statistics. We don't do all in favor, say I. But we're sitting here because a president of a state institution saw $237 million and didn't stop to think where the $237 million was coming from. So let's be clear. This is devastating for Florida A&M, and Larry Robinson has to bear most of the brunt of it. I know people want to put it on Chairperson Harper. As Jared said, no gun was put to her head. But at the same time, this is still the university president that just saw $237 million and said, to hell with procedures. And now this is where we are with this. So yes, Florida A&M, they're going to have to take this one on the chin, man. Or the jokes, the slander, the shots fired, the parodies, they earned it. And now they got to live with it.
Brandon, I'm gonna go to you next. Closing thoughts.
That's tough act to follow. I don't have any plankton references in my closing. But I'll say this. Like I said, when the news came out, I think we all can say I was rooting for FAMU. I was hoping that this was going to come to fruition because this was groundbreaking. This was record breaking. And even though, even amongst our schools, and we know.
I'm sorry. Wait, Amanda, what?
Stop it.
Amanda, I love you. I just want you to know that. Dude didn't even get a haircut or moisturize his skin for his commencement speech. Come on, man. We're supposed to be serious.
We are not a serious society. We never have been. We never have.
Don't take nothing serious.
Okay, I'm sorry, Brandon. Go ahead, finish.
It's all good. I gotta regroup after that. But okay, got it. But no, what I was saying, even amongst, we may amongst our schools talk trash or whatever, but at the end of the day, we all want to see each other win. Obviously, we represent different schools, but I want to see Grambling win. I want to see Delaware State, Bowie State, even Jackson State. I want to see all of us, do well. And then when things happen, such as is going down on the highest of Seven Hills, not only does it cast a bad light on FAMU, but people are going to then turn that onto all HBCUs and think that, well, that's how they get down. They don't take care of business and things of that nature. And it makes it, looking at it from another angle, is Dr. Robinson going to survive this latest storm? You had the situation, I guess, that with the previous AD, we had the compliance issue, and now you've got this. I don't know if he's got any Teflon left to make it through this particular ordeal. So we're going to have to see how this shakes out, how this investigation, however they're going to formulate it, will go. But I will say this, the investigation, I really hope, as they're forming it out, that it will have the due diligence that the initial looking into the gift will have. And so hopefully in 3 months or whatever, we're not back talking about what wasn't, uncovered in the investigation. So that's all I got.
Someone, and I appreciate that. And I struggle as if I even really wanted to bring this up. Someone sent me a text during the meeting saying that they were surprised that Dr. Robinson either hadn't resigned or hadn't been asked to resign or fire, whatever the case may be. And that person thinks that maybe there isn't a rush to get rid of him if there was a desire to do so, that maybe steps hadn't been taken because they need someone in leadership to also help the school get through the situation related to the tornado. I don't know. I don't want to mix one thing with the other, but that was something that I thought, I didn't really think about. I personally think that given where we are right now, a 9-figure deal that isn't a 9-figure deal, everybody already looks bad as is. And the question being, with due diligence being what it is, They just want to make sure that they do their due diligence before any further steps are made, which is why one of the board members wanted to make a motion that Dr. Robinson not remove anyone from the staff, which in itself was a debate. Chris Stevens, final comments, ma'am. Sorry about that.
I already gave mine. Jared's turn.
Okay, it's my turn. Okay. Let me just end with this, and I'm going to try to end this on a good note. FAMU.
You forgot Jared.
Oh, Jared. Oh, that's right. I skipped over you. Jared, go ahead. Final comment now.
Hey man, I'm just glad to be here. No, but the Florida A&M is in this situation for a multitude of reasons: a lack of communication, a lack of research, a lack of foresight, a lack of transparency, just a lack of a lot of things. And these are some of the more basic things you need in your position. You need to communicate with your board of trustees before, as I've learned from this situation, when you have a donation of this magnitude, you need to consult with investment personnel, with people who are involved in financials. You need to have the backing of, which apparently he did at the last minute, but you need to have that backing with time. You said you got the donation a month before you presented it at commencement. What were you doing that entire month? Spending money you ain't got? No, that's not what you do. That's not what you do. You make sure that you have the money that you are going to get. I don't know a lot about stocks. But you got to buy and sell. That's all I know. So even I know that you weren't going to get the whole 237 million just based off of that fact. So a lack of knowledge is also a reason why they are in this mess. But this is something that is, look, they're going to face the jokes no matter what.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to look them jokes in the face and say, we need to be better as a university. But I think the biggest crime from this whole thing, Mr. Jeremy, fix your handwriting. Your handwriting is awful. I've never seen somebody with such horrible handwriting penmanship. Your grammar is awful. Man, I swear everything I've seen this man write looks like a kid did it. Like, I've never seen man, I swear it looked like a little kid just scribbled a bunch of fake letters. Like, when I saw that on that NDA, I'm like, hey, yo, fire him immediately for getting into the deal with him after seeing his handwriting. Because I told you, we're not serious as a society. We're not. Because how do you see that and say, oh, yeah, that's legit? Yeah, go ahead. Let's do it. No, but seriously, they got a lot of work to do ahead of this, because repairing your reputation, you can think that's a small thing, but it's not. When you got prospective students, you got prospective donors who will look up FAMU, and that's the first thing they are going to see. They're not going to see the graduation class. They're not going to see the amount of people who, graduated from the class of 2024. They're not going to see the enrollment with the class of 2025. The first thing they are going to see is that the president of your university accepted $237 million, an alleged $237 million donation, without verifying the validity of the deal and the person who was sending them the money. That's the first thing they are going to see. So repairing your reputation is very important. And that's a good question. I wonder what's next for Jeremy too, because he can't get off the hook on this. Let's not forget him. Let's not forget him and that horrible handwriting. But that's all I gotta say.
Man, you talked about that man's mask being upside down. Now you
because I'm so
okay.
I'm sorry. No. He was in a panorama for 4 years.
My man Fred Batiste said FAMU would have done better dealing with the Hollering brothers from the Harlem National Bank. Y'all gotta watch. Look, if you haven't seen the movie Strictly Business,
woo!
I swear we're not serious as a society. We're not.
Oh, see, and then see, Chris. See,
Yes, that. Yes,
this is
put it
why
over your nose.
See, when Chris said we ain't used to covering board meetings and ayes and nays, this is exactly what he's talking about. Man,
I had to do it. I'm sorry.
I can't.
You know, it's funny.
I
had that man sitting by my desk for so long, and I didn't think to use it the last time. As soon as Jared brought it up, I said, "Nope, I got to have a prop this time."
See, you got a prop, and it came in handy. Just to take a shot at it. I'm gonna end it. We're gonna end this on this note, because you know me, I'm the eternal optimist, and I'm always here to see the right side of things. Okay, family, whatever heat you're getting right now, do know it is you brought it on yourself. This was self-inflicted. And I know that, look, I was all 10 toes. You guys know me and Chris, we clowned old Mr. Blakely for, okay. You say what you will about Jeremy or whatever his name is, but nah, there are too many layers at FAMU for this to go wrong. And boy, were we wrong. Okay. Even though Dr. Robinson, you know, the board and the board of trustees and the foundation were never even aware of this. So that, you know, take that for what it's worth. But I would just simply say this, man. I've heard a lot of people talk about, is it Shawnta Friday-Stroud? I've heard people offline talk about how generous she's been, how beloved she is. And I'm not surprised that was echoed during the board of trustees meeting. She is one who, through her actions alone, has indicated, that she obviously loves that university. So, I hope things ultimately turn out okay for her. And I would just say this, fam, you guys are going to be okay. Because if there was one thing that I will say that I, assuming it was true, because I'm guessing the board members probably, Dr. Robinson said during that call that I guess since all of this happened, the school received $225,000 in donations. So, which it's not 237 million, but it's 225,000. So I say all that to say, fam, you guys are gonna be okay. I'm praying for you. I really am, man. I don't want any HBCU to have to go through the scrutiny that you guys go through. Because look, I know it's a circle, man. At some point, some school's going to go through something and it's going to be amplified, and we're going to make it an HBCU problem when this isn't an HBCU problem, because HBCUs have been approached by this guy and they said thanks, but no thanks. So it's not an HBCU problem, family. This is all you. But I think you're going to be okay. All right. He's Brandon King. He's Jared Hoffman. That's Chris Stevens with the prop and the SpongeBob references. Thank you guys for taking a few hours to stay with us. We see you guys next time. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. God bless you. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.